Relish, pleasing or zestful flavor.
A quantity just sufficient to flavor, to be pleased or gratified by, enjoy.
We are hoping that what we bring to your table today might add some spice to your life.
Welcome back to another episode of Relish. I am Rowan Miller, and Don Patterson, and then Marcus Miller, as you saw on the last episode. We brought him back on. I guess we decided he was worthy of being on Relish, so
There you go.
he got to stick around.
Yes.
But
Another star in your crown? Yeah? Jewel in your crown?
yeah. So today, we're not quite sure, but we'll have a conversation going.
Yeah. So I saw on my brother-in-law, God bless him, sent me your brother-in-law's. No, my brother-in-law sent me your brother-in-law's post, and it had to do with the fact that he would like to have had a conversation with Charlie in person and debate in person, and he basically said his condolences to the family, and he was sorry that Charlie had been killed, and he was very, I thought it was appropriate in that light, and then he was basically saying he wished he'd had a chance to debate him. And I got thinking from that, oh man, that would be fun. I mean, Charlie was so good at those things. I don't know about your brother-in-law, but I imagine he's well informed on the issues that were coming around. And I sort of mourned the fact it couldn't happen, and wondered, how can we do this conversation that's not going well in Washington, D.C. right now, but how can we do the conversation better between what's on one side and what's on the other, right and left? And you're a little more left than I am, I think, right, Marcus?
I'm on the right here.
You're well, yes, you're on our right. Very well. But you said something before we started this about your brother-in-law and what he received in that process of just posting that one post.
Yeah, well, and actually it goes back further. So I think it was 2016 or 17, the Turning Point USA group put out a professor watch list. And my brother-in-law, who's a history professor at University of Montana, he's the head of the African American History Department, ended up on that list.
Oh.
And he didn't know anything about it until he started getting death threats. And death threats significant enough that the university security people, it's like when you're on campus, you need to be careful, and you probably shouldn't walk to campus anymore, and taking those kind of precautions. So it did have it wasn't just out there. It was something that's like there were specific concerns. And Tobin has done a lot of work with anti-racism things. And so, he's used to reaching out and talking to a wide variety of people. And so he tried to initiate a conversation with the group and with Charlie Kirk, who was a name I wasn't familiar with then, and I still don't really. It's not
He would
something I
have
would
been
listen to.
extremely young then.
Yes, in 16.
Yeah.
Did his best to try and reach out, offered to meet with him in private, in public, over coffee, for a beer, whatever he would want, to talk about why he was on this watch list. Never got responses, or if he did get responses, they were no, we're not interested.
Wow.
So that's what prompted his recent vote
response
after his death was,
So did he get responses to that post?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
But you don't know what they are, okay.
I think, just what I saw, many of them were positive, but he also received some negative ones, and he was a little concerned because after he was killed, he got calls from like higher ed magazines and different magazines that knew he had been on that watch list, wanting to know his reaction. And some of that is, well, we're trying to generate clicks and responses, so we want something controversial. Tobin talked to a few. He didn't. He turned down quite a few, I think. I think one of the other issues for him was knowing other people on that list, particularly women, minority women. It was like, he's a white male, and so he's at a place where he feels a little
Singled
like
out.
maybe I should speak out instead of some of those people who feel like more of a target has been put on them.
Right.
Or maybe are in more vulnerable positions than what Tobin is.
Maybe we ought to invite him. Have him come.
Yeah. To make the trip.
But okay, bottom line of my concern is, how can we have conversations that illustrate both ends of the spectrum with respect and come to I see a polarization happening that's pulling the country apart. And I don't think we as Christians should be in that mode. Instead, we've got a message that should be aligning and driving through the middle of this in such a way that it doesn't polarize in the same way. But churches are being polarized as well. And so I'm trying to figure, as a pastor, how do we navigate these wonderful waters we've been given to get through?
That's why you're the pastor.
Oh, that's why. God bless me. God. Because, here we are. How do we do this being Christian better together? I mean, in the last episode, we had straight coats, and we didn't get barn door breeches. I wish we could have.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need you to model barn door breeches. But in the midst of that, those are the kinds of things we could fight over before. And so then there ended up being churches that would be separated because, we can't have cars with chrome stripes, chrome on them. Our cars have to be black. Or we still are in buggies. Or we have barn door breeches. Or you have to have a frock coat. Or you have,
Right.
To me, those are a lot easier to try to figure out a way through than when we talk about how do we deal with social issues in an economy that's already stressed with a debt that's great and huge. And so how do we do these things better? To me, there should be a really good, respectful conversation that grows out of. So, how do we do that? Other than Marcus
Yeah.
and Don have coffee. Or do we?
Well, I think just as a former social studies teacher, I think people have lost the art of discussing and arguing well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was Sunday afternoon entertainment at some of my extended family gatherings, was the uncles arguing. And if they all agreed, somebody would play the devil's advocate. But it was cheating to say you were doing the devil's advocate thing. You were doing it without saying that. And at the end of the time, they all were brothers and loved each other, and you could see that as a young person. And when you got to be a teenager and you ventured to share your opinion, you learned you better be able to back it up.
There you go.
In some way, or otherwise they could kind of gently, or maybe not so gently, tear you apart, or tear apart your argument. Tear apart your argument, not you.
Right.
And that's maybe one of the things is we tend to tear apart each other. We don't focus on the argument. We focus on the person and the social categories they fit. In the episode I watched before, you talked about biblical literacy, and I think we've lost some of that. We've lost a lot of that. I agreed with what you said. When you read stories about pastors being criticized for reading from the Sermon on the Mount, that it's, what's this woke stuff coming from?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an example of biblical illiteracy.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said to help take care of the poor. He also said you'll always have them with you.
I was going to say that he said the same thing.
But what did he say? He came to bring liberation to the captives and freedom to the oppressed.
Right, and he was quoting the Old Testament when he did that in Luke 4.
And so I'd like to think the church is still relevant and has a role to play, but I think it's forgotten some of those basic missions.
Yeah, it's forgotten the basic missions. It's leaned on the government, maybe to do things that the church ought to be doing. I think I've said that more than once. So then, we're going to be passing down this wonderful tradition of ours to the next generation. What's exciting to me is that Rowan's generation is excited about the Word. They're excited about discipleship. How do we as old codgers live into the next generation so the conversation can be had with respect?
Yeah.
Because that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not. Yeah. What do you think? I mean, is that a conversation you want as young Christians? Or
Yeah.
not?
I think. I don't know how I'm supposed to answer that, but.
Well, I know you're hungry.
Right.
I mean, about everything that we've
I
talked
think
about.
I think it's a different look than anything that like the faith in Christianity has seen before necessarily.
Well,
like
I hadn't thought about that.
I think the way that, say, my generation is fired up is different than how your guys' generation was. Like a lot of people are like Forrest Frank and his rap Christian, I think, is reaching a lot more people, and they're hearing it, and I don't necessarily know how many people know what it means, but
But it's out there beyond the church.
Right.
And I think in my generation and Marcus's, all the faith stuff happened in the church,
Right.
or at least within its constraints of, this is an evangelistic event, so we're going to team up with these other churches, and it's okay because that's kosher. But what's happening now is in convention forums and very free platforms that aren't constrained to the walls of the church. That's great. My concern then is in those platforms, where's the discipleship going to come from that gets them deeper into their relationship with Jesus?
Yeah, I think we have the mentor-mentee program, so that with
your church,
yeah, you get somebody that with more wisdom, a couple more years than you, and they can help walk you through it. Your parents, grandparents. Yeah, I think the main thing is like staying connected within your church and prioritizing your Sunday mornings, because even not like nowadays I can kind of see that going away. But
so Marcus was bringing the social concerns and how we take care of the poor and the needy, the blind is one of those in that passage in Luke 4. So how do you see Gen Z moving forward to address social issues?
I have no idea. I think I don't think that there's. I think it's hard to tell now with like my generation. We're not making, like, we're not having thousands of dollars rolling in.
I thought you were making megabucks,
So,
dude.
Not yet, yet.
Yeah, it's these videos that have to do that.
Right. So we haven't. I don't think that's necessarily thought. Like, I don't think that's been a idea or topic that people in my generation have thought about.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think we have like a plan for that or anything, but
There's no master plan.
right.
No master plan. Well, and a lot of Christian
kinda
movements
doubt
have
it's
moved
even
without
been-
a master plan.
Yeah,
which-
I don't think it's been considered much, but
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in our generation, there was a lot of, and the generation before us, there was a lot of emphasis on building institutions and maintaining institutions, things like MCC, Mennonite Church, and different denominations. The young people I've hung around with, the institutional church is not something that excites them.
Right.
And the money spent to maintain institutions, I think the ones I see they've sort of formed community among friends and neighbors. And that's sort of where church is happening. It looks a lot different than what I grew up with, but that's where they're finding their support, guidance, what they contribute to, for right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. So then, it will have to be as they find out who Christ is more, that it develops those connections to the poor and the hungry and the blind and the lame.
Well, and I think they know who Jesus is, or have an appreciation for that, but they don't see that reflected in the institutional church.
And so it's a critique
or
of
Christendom or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
When you see,
and rightly so, huh?
church budget meetings are not fun, are they?
They are not fun.
And it's
mercy
not
sakes.
something that excites young people, or many people. It certainly doesn't excite me.
Many people, and yeah.
Um,
And like the road said, we don't have any money anyway, so why?
but if you're going to keep the institution going, you have to have those, right?
The institution.
Yeah.
But I happened to have been the president, the chairman of the MCC sale in Iowa at the time when we could no longer get volunteers for lead positions. We could get lots of volunteers for other positions, but for those positions of leadership, we could not get a soul. It was when we made that when we made that decision, it was unanimous. We could not continue the sale because we couldn't get those lead positions. So somehow or another, we lost the vision, or lost the chance to share the vision of what could be done through that. But it was an institution, like you're saying, Marcus, and so maybe it needed to go. Boy, that was hard. Then, how do we make up the difference?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, what we were seeing is that Gen Z was investing heavy in the mission. They just didn't want to have the positions and all the things that go with that. And I was impressed with the young people that were on the board at that time, and I knew their commitment to MCC and the work of taking care of the poor and the hungry. And if anybody sees this before the meat canning, the Iowa meat canner is going to be in the first couple weeks of December, and you can still sign up for the meat canner. And that's a way that we try to feed the poor and help in that way. Thousands of pounds of meat will go out from that canner and that work in those 3 days, I think it is. Well, to me, this conversation is illuminating the fact that we can do it better. I guess I would applaud the Gen Z and the new, the number of Bibles have gone up. The sale of Bibles have gone up 50%, which is major. And what was the other statistic I saw that indicated that there's new investment in the Christian faith?
Yeah.
And so I applaud that. I keep asking myself the question, how can we facilitate what's going on naturally to go better? Maybe fill in that social gap, that how do we take care of the poor gap that needs to be taken care of?
Well, I also think that you're talking about churches and institutions. I think that on the inside, and those are changing also, rather than like you have the Mennonite church here, then we sing our hymns and pass the offering and have sharing time and prayer and Sunday school and fellowship.
Right.
But then there's bigger churches, bigger areas that will have 3 services a Sunday. They might have Sunday school. There's not really fellowship because it's such a massive
Group.
congregation, and you don't stick around and you're hustling out the doors or whatever.
And what I think is interesting, in this congregation, we thought, well, Sunday morning, that's really good, but we need prayer and we need praise and we need times of healing. And so actually out of the congregation has grown another service that is basically has no sermon. I mean, really. can you have a service without a sermon? And so it actually is an evening of scripture, praise, prayer, and it's a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even the congregations, the institutional church, is beginning to ask for things they haven't had on their radar for a while. So I praise the Lord, things are happening.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to be a part of it. Yeah. Well, Marcus, I really appreciated the conversation. We may have to do coffee again in the near future. And I respect my brother. We've seen a lot of things, some of the same things. And our conversations have been rich.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if...
And if you didn't, you can let us know.
Yeah. Let us know anything. If there's something else that you want us to talk about, also let us know. We'd be glad.
Or if you have a guest you wanted to have on.
Right.
We don't want to cut anybody out, you know. This is a fun time.
Yep.
We'll go from there.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Lord
Thank you for
willing.
joining us for this podcast. Feel free to become part of this ministry by sharing it with others. Our goal is to help each other grow deeper in our understanding of who God is and His calling to us in our daily lives. Thank you again for joining us, and may God bless your day.